Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight, I'm going to interview Phil Adams, who is a victim of child abuse. I know that parts of this video and conversation will be difficult to hear, but I urge you to listen. Don't turn away. He deserves to be heard, and in this case, we are fortunate that there is a positive ending.
I grew up with my mother in inner city Boston, and my dad moved to Maryland. During that time, my mother, as most young girls do, found the wrong guy to hang out with, and he became my stepfather. I guess the first time I remember him hitting me, we had my mom's eye pen, you know? This little crayon pen, it looked like a crayon. And we lived in an apartment, and my brother and I were writing on these tiles on the floor. And as I'm down there trying to scrub it off, it wouldn't come off. And I'm 5, I'm not gonna be able to get it off anyway. But he punts me like a football. He just kicks me as hard as he can. That was the first time he actually put his hands on us, and my mom came out screaming because I think it's the first time she had seen him put his hands on one of us, and it's the first time I saw him hit my mother. So that became the norm. Welts all up and down your arms, and cuts and bruises and scrapes, until I was about 10 or 11. It's hard to ask for help, just asking for help in general. But asking for help in that situation is really hard, especially for a child, because you're going against your parents. Like you're putting your parents in harm's way. It's pretty much what you're doing. And no matter what they do to you, no matter what my stepfather did to me, I still call him Dad. So they sent me to live in Maryland, and I thought I was going for the summer, and probably maybe a week later all my clothes arrived. And then I realized I was not going back, and she was like, "You're not coming back to the city." She sent me to live with my dad, and it saved my life. It's the reason why I'm here today. I do know that if someone would have intervened earlier, there are a lot of decisions, a lot of mistakes that I made in my life that I would not have made. And just the fact that I went, 30 years thinking there was something wrong with me. You kind of put that stuff down inside, and I guess it started kind of coming back out when I started having kids. And you start thinking about how you're going to discipline your kids, and you're like, I'm never hitting my kids, and I'm never doing this, or I'm never doing that. And it started coming up, and then I started seeing a therapist, and that's the only way I got past it. There's nothing worse than feeling helpless. And as a child, that's what you are.
Every time I see that video, it still impacts me. Thank you for sharing your story, Phil.
My pleasure.
You're not a victim anymore. You're more than a survivor. As Doug, our executive director, often says, you're one that thrives. So tonight, I'd like you to introduce yourself as you are now. How would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Phil Adams. I'm a father. First and foremost, I'm a father of 7 children, from 25 to 3. I have a business. I own my own business. I actually work as well in another business. So thriving is, I would say, is the easiest way to categorize what I do. But in life, I like to ride the wheels off of it, and that's what I'm doing. I'm riding the wheels off of it.
That's awesome. Through our earlier conversation, you told me at 4 years of age, you had your first broken rib. 5 years of age, your first skull fracture. 7 years, stitches in your head. And it sounds like there were several breakdowns in the community to keep you safe. Did anyone in the emergency room talk to you to determine if you were safe?
No, I was never pulled aside to ask if there was any violence in the home. I wasn't. They asked me what happened. I told them, and as absurd as the story was, they believed it, and you could tell that they didn't really believe it, but they just let it go. It was one of those things. So, yeah, it was never asked.
So that's so hard for me to hear, thinking about CP's mission and our program and what we do. Makes me so thankful for what our child protection team does. You talked about using your mother's eyeliner pen. And were there certain triggers that brought the violence on, or was it unexpected to you, or?
You know, and I say this all the time, as a child in an abusive home, there are no triggers. It is whatever your abuser is feeling that day. And it doesn't require a trigger. It just requires them not feeling like they're having a good day and they want to take it out on someone. And that's usually how that works. There's nothing that I can't see, because when you're abused, you walk around on eggshells. You don't set off triggers when you're an abused child. You walk around and try your best not to. And as hard as you may try, it doesn't require a trigger for an abuser. It's who they are.
You said it's hard for you to ask for help. You said you're telling on your parents. And so often when I talk about child abuse with people, they always say, why don't the kids tell? Why don't they tell someone? Why don't they ask for help? How would you answer that when someone says that? Why don't kids ask for help?
In my case, and I think in a lot of kids of abuse, in a lot of our cases, our home is what we see as the world. That is the world to us. And that's our world. So to step out of that and ask for help when you don't know if you're going to be protected if you ask for help. You don't know if they're going to put you back in the same house with your abuser after you tell on them, which will make your life a lot worse. And my abuser knew that, and he told us that. He would tell us that. You can call 911 all you want. I'll be back. So that's why a lot of kids don't tell. And a lot of kids, you want to protect your family, even though that's what it's a really sad view of what love is, but to you, that's what love is, and you want to protect that. So I think that's another reason why kids don't tell. And there's no one there telling, like for me, there was no one there telling me, you need to tell someone if someone's hitting you. You need to tell someone if, it was more so that's just what you thought discipline was, until you were out of that situation and you understood that that's not love, that's not discipline. But when you're in it, that is exactly what it is to you. It's love and it's discipline. And it's sad, but you're not going to tell on the person that's doing that. And it's your parents. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's your parents. No one's going to tell on their parents. It takes a lot for someone to tell on their parents.
Yeah. You talked about finding an escape as a child. How was school an escape for you?
School, man. School was the only place where I could let my guard down. Mm-hmm. School was the only place that I knew that all the adults were just there to take care of us. There was an adult in there that was gonna hit you. It was the only time I didn't flinch. Wow. Yeah, at home, every time an adult moved, you flinch, because you don't know if it's gonna be someone hitting you. You never know. And at school, you can just relax. And I went to an inner city school in Boston, and I could relax there, more so than at home, if that tells you anything. And that's what school means. It's our little oasis away from all the pain that we live in, because you spend so much more time there than you do at school. And kids really enjoy being at school when they have an abusive home. They really do.
So we all just went through a pandemic, are still going through it. What do you think with the children that have been home during this pandemic who have some of the same experiences that you do?
I think it sucks. There's no other way to say it. You look forward to leaving the house.
Yeah.
You have something to look forward to. It's kind of your silver lining, You look forward to seeing your friends and getting away from what your world is, and it's a world of pain, and that's what it is. And when they close a school down, or you can't go to school and you don't have that social circle, and you don't have those people that you talk to that make your life better, they make your life bearable, because that is your escape. They are your vacation. Your friends are your vacation. School is your vacation, because you live in hell 24/7. Yeah. So once they take that away, I can understand why these kids are depressed. I can understand why these kids are having issues, because there's no outlet. There's no teacher there looking at these kids saying, that kid's being abused, I need to tell someone. Teachers are the #1 reporters of child abuse, and these kids aren't at school. So these kids are literally stuck at home with their abusers, and that's sad.
Yeah. Your grandmother saved you. You said that she stood up for you and she arranged for you to go live with your father in Maryland. But just leaving that home, that abusive home, didn't solve everything for you. How has therapy helped you in your journey?
So, got me. Yeah, abuse goes with you everywhere you go. It doesn't matter. It's in here and it's in here. So it doesn't matter if you leave the situation goes with you wherever you are. As a child, that's how you shape the way you look at people. It's the way you shape the way you look at relationships. And even just because you're removed from that situation doesn't mean that changes the way you look at the world. The world is still an angry, mean place to a child of abuse. That's just what it is. And I mean, that was me I'm 44 now, and I didn't go to therapy till I was 33. So I carried that till I was 33, thinking there was something wrong with me that made this guy want to hit me. There was something wrong with me. And I didn't realize until someone said, that's not love. When you sit down and you talk to somebody, and I think everyone should go to therapy. I think we all have our own little pieces of PTSD, and you need to talk to somebody about it. But I wasn't free until I went to therapy, and that freed me, because I had been carrying this man's pain and all of his anger. I've been carrying it, not him. He's fine.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part about it. The abuser, they don't care, and they're usually fine. It's the child or the person that they're abusing that carries all of their anger and all of their pain, because they push that on you. And the only way to get that out is to talk about it and give it away, because it's not yours. And that's what I had to learn. That pain's not mine. That's his pain. He's trying to make me carry his pain. And until I realized that, you can't let it go, because you put your name on it like it's yours, and it's not. So I think therapy is paramount for everyone, especially children of abuse.
And following with that, what would you say to a child now or an adult who hasn't gotten help, or they're at home and they might not see this, but if the community sees a child and they haven't gotten help, what would you say to that child?
We want out. Every child of abuse wants out. We want out. We don't like, if my mom left and said we're gonna live in a car, I would have packed my stuff and jumped in the car as fast as I could. If at any point she said we're leaving this house, we'd have been gone, and us kids would not have cared. Your kids know, and they want out, and they can't get out. So if you're staying for your kids, get out. We don't want to be there. We don't want to be there any more than you do. That's it. We want out. So if you're a child, like we have the CPC now, we have all these things that support children like me, that these things that weren't in place when this stuff was happening to me. So utilize that stuff, because it's a whole different story now. It's a whole different world now, and they aren't going to get away with it. And that's probably a lot of the reason why I didn't tell, is because I was like, he's just going to get away with it. They're not going to get away with it. So tell. And if you're a parent and you're staying for your children, they don't want to be there. Leave.
Thank you for sharing. So tonight, one final question is, what do you want the community to know? The people that are watching tonight, is there a message out of all of this that you really want them to hear?
There's two messages, very simple messages. I say them all the time. The first is that no matter where you go, you're driving in your car, you're walking through a store, no matter where you go, someone around you in your circle is abused. Someone's surviving it, someone's living in it, someone's not surviving it, someone's not doing well with it. And they're all in our circle. They're in our circle when we're at church. I don't care where you are. When you're around the elites, when you're around the poorest of the poor, abuse does not care where you live. It doesn't care how much you make. It's everywhere. And we have to realize it and not look past it and say, and leave it for the next man. because the next man might not do it. And then a child that's 5 at my age gets 30 before he gets help. When we can see it, recognize it, and give some assistance now. And that's what this stuff is about, and that's the second part of it. When we're in those places, and my wife and I, we say we can't go to Walmart without spending $100. We cannot set foot in the store without spending $100, and it's usually on stuff we don't need. So you can give $1 or $2 or $3 to the Child Protection Center. I mean, you can buy a raffle ticket for $50. At least you're gonna get a car in return if you win, but everywhere you go, there's a Phil Adams. Everywhere you go. And the other part of this is that I have 4 siblings that didn't have a father they could go to. They didn't have a release. There was no one there to help them. And they all lived through that until they were adults. And I think they still aren't getting the help that I get. Mm-hmm. So start now. Take a month of Starbucks and donate it to the Child Protection Center. Take a month of smoking cigarettes, was killing you anyway. Donate it to the Child Protection Center. I mean, we waste so much. We waste so much, and especially when we can't have events. We can't have events because we have to be safe. Especially because we're a charitable organization, and we don't want to put our donors at risk.
Right.
But that being said, child abuse isn't going anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere. It has not taken a break. So we can't take a break on fighting it, and supporting the CPC is the best way to do it.
Thank you, Phil. You told me a long time ago, you said, Sheila, I will never be silenced again. I will always be noticed. And I want to tell you tonight, we all see you and we all hear you. Each time you share your story, your vulnerability, you're making a difference because you're shining a light on child abuse. You're educating people, you're giving hope, and I just commend you so much for sharing and being vulnerable. And you talked about that you didn't have a CPC in your life. So tonight, what I'd like you to do, I'd like to give you an opportunity to symbolize your journey of healing and recognize the impact that you have on protecting children by giving you your own marble to put in our pillar of hope.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is for my brothers and sisters.